Dustin bought a mango. I didn't think people bought mangoes. I just thought mangoes like weird places. Brenna bought a mango. I've never touched a mango. I've had mango, but I've never touched a whole mango. I'm not a fan of mango. It looks like a pear, which I also don't particularly care for. But there's avocados here too as well, which I do really enjoy.
Welcome back to the Project Proposed podcast. I'm Dustin.
I'm Mike.
Next week, it's the last episode of the podcast, and we will be posting the video of the proposal on YouTube for everyone to see.
You know YouTube, where you watch videos of cats falling off of lamps and watching people making dishes in their Instant Pots. You know YouTube.
Wow, we use YouTube for two very different things.
What do you use YouTube for?
Financial advice.
Oh, no.
Which is
I like to watch it for chickens chasing people. Yeah, subscribe to that channel. You're going to want to see all of the amazing things that Dustin put together for this proposal. There's some magical content there.
Let's circle back to what we talked about in episode 5.
Episode 5 with your pal Zach.
With my pal Zach. I had a meeting with Gary to go over getting a celebrity cameo in the congrats video.
Gary, your boss.
Gary Vaynerchuk, my boss.
Yeah, social media mastermind.
I asked his assistant for just 5 minutes with him. She ends up giving me 15 minutes with him.
Nice.
And I'm like, well, I only need 5 minutes, so maybe the other 10 minutes that I don't need, I could bring a microphone and record him for the podcast.
As one does when they go meet with their boss.
Right. It's amazing that I wasn't fired. We have that to play for you in just a few minutes here. But before I get into that, I just wanted to circle back to the actual cameo, which unfortunately did not work out. Gary and I tried to get someone. Things just didn't go the way we wanted.
Guys, you know what? Sometimes they don't.
Hopefully this is the worst thing that's going to happen in the proposal and everything's good for when we do it.
I got good vibes that everything is going to go just fine.
I don't know. I'm feeling a little shaky on it.
Nah, you're going to be good. You're going to be good. Everything's going to be great.
Okay. I believe you.
I'm always here to reassure you and keep you company in the bathroom.
Which brings us to the interview, which of course we did not do in our bathroom. That would be ridiculous. We went to Gary's bathroom.
All right, Dustin. So without further ado, let's go to your interview with investor and entrepreneur Gary Vaynerchuk. You may also know him as GaryVee. He's the CEO of VaynerMedia and the chairman of VaynerX. He's a 5-time New York Times best-selling author. He's also host of the GaryVee Audio Experience, which is one of the top 5 business podcasts on iTunes. You can also find him on YouTube at GaryVee. So let's go to that interview now.
Gary, welcome to the Project Proposed podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm very, very excited. Congratulations, Brenna.
So I want to start off with the most obvious question, which is, how did you propose?
You know what's crazy? This is so fun because this is so elaborate. I'm a very interesting guy, and in 2003, I don't think I was worldly enough to realize the culture of proposing now is real. I'm sure it was kind of real in 2003, but it wasn't this real. And so I came home early from work, got a bunch of roses, did some rose petal stuff, and my wife came home and I was on a knee with a ring and said, "Would you marry me?" And we were dressed up because we had a big business award dinner that night. Mm-hmm. But that's it. Watching all these people on Instagram, or what you're doing now, which is remarkable, I actually am devastated that I have to answer this question because obviously I'm old now, and during my time I don't think it was this elaborate, but even by those back standards, I was probably a little bit basic.
Did she like it? Did she love it?
Yeah, I mean, at some
level.
And
that's all that matters, right?
Yeah, and listen, I mean, there's in this world of cool stuff like this, there are still many people that go quite, classic in their proposals, and I think to your point, this is a fun and incredible thing that will always be a great memory, but the love and the importance of that relationship is far outweighs anything else.
Right. Do you think your philosophies about work ethic and hustle apply to relationships and dating?
More. Yeah. Because and you know this, and this is something that's evolved in the last year or two, work ethic, hustle is, in 2009 when I hit the scene, people couldn't get jobs, and the internet was at scale. So I was excited that my work ethic hustle thing was going to help a lot of people. 2019, some of my thoughts on work ethic and hustle are now being demonized as burnout and things of that nature, and I'm very empathetic to that, which excites me because I think a lot of things of like listening or karma or empathy or kindness, or a lot of things that I think I've been much louder about the last 4 years that make me who I am, make me successful. I mean, literally, you just walked in after my book publisher had just sat for 20 minutes trying to convince me to write a book around soft skills. I think, yes, because I think you have to work at everything.
Yep.
But I think that's an ingredient. And I think, listening and empathy and kindness and being the bigger person and a lot of other things that I talk about as well are also very important parts of the equation. And then, back to you two, and everybody else, every relationship has its micro dynamics. The reality is the ingredients that will make you two the most successful that you can be are actually quite unique to the 1 + 1 = 3 of you two.
Yep.
Which may have thematics in other relationships, but are very unique to the two of you.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Which is cool.
Every relationship is
Very
like a fingerprint.
Snowflake. Yes,
like,
I believe in that. I really do. Themes are similar.
Yeah.
But there's both my parents lost a parent, when they were kids, and that clearly had an impact.
Right.
I was an immigrant, and my mom raised 3 kids with no help, and we grinded, and that impacts me, right? So everybody's got their own stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense. Are dating apps helpful or harmful?
I think they're helpful. I'm a very big believer that technology is a remarkable cause of good where people spend a lot of time looking for the bad.
Yeah.
There's an enormous amount of people that are finding love because of the infrastructure of information that is a gateway then to them having a face-to-face meeting.
It increases the probability of finding your one.
Anybody who hates dating apps and has any level of respect for math is a hypocrite.
I agree with that. Brenna and I met at sleepaway camp, so we
Amazing.
never touched the dating
it.
app scene.
I get it. And on the flip side, my wife and I met on JDate in 2003 when dating apps or websites were taboo.
Yep.
So
That was one of the OGs.
Everybody has their own path.
Total hypothetical question.
Please.
What advice would you give to someone who's about to be engaged?
It's funny. I'm going to level up this answer because I truly believe it. I wish people could pull hard at 2 things during this process. 1, deeply enjoy the moment of the process of it. So many people go from engagement to complete planning of wedding and their life, which then completely eliminates the potential fun of the engagement period.
Yep.
On the flip side, as a complete contradiction to what I said, not over analyzing or overly trying to maximize it. So it's kind of how I talk about not hearing the cheering or the boos. Literally every post I put out on social, because of the size of my audience, one comment will say I'm literally Jesus, and the next one will literally say that I'm a snake oil salesman. And the ability to not hear either, and that's what I would say about this. Enjoy the shit out of it, but don't overthink it.
Yeah. And I think a big part of it is a lot of family and a lot of friends are going to have opinions, and we just have to keep doing us.
Well, that's a great... And listen, as you guys know, and you've been together for 9 years.
Yep.
Your families have had plenty of opinions, especially years 5 through 9.
Yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of that came in the course of judgment towards you, and to Brenna as well. The judgment to her about how she, that's just human.
Yep.
Dynamics in our society. You guys have proven with the successful execution of an engagement that you've been able to navigate judgment anyway. Yeah. So you have practice.
Is there anything that I haven't asked you that I should ask you about this topic?
Engagement, wedding, life together. You know what would be fun? Actually, I don't know why my brain went here. I
can't wait to hear this.
It's really actually quite interesting. A very weird left field one. It's not a recommendation. It's a hypothesis that I'd love the two of you to think about. I'm a very big believer that negativity is louder than positivity. Which is why I do what I do for a living.
Yep.
Besides being the executive I am with us working together. The reason I share content, what I'm seeing in our society is negativity is really good at marketing and positivity is quiet. This is a very happy time for you guys.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go very left field with even where I'm bridging this. I would like to say that I think the two of you should sit down one night, have a glass of wine or whatever you guys do, and actually talk about friendships that you guys have had over the last 20 years that you've lost. Mm-hmm. And that you should randomly reach out to them and have dinner with them.
So that's interesting because I know you've talked about cutting out like toxic people in your life. So
this is almost like a reverse, right? Move.
Yeah.
Like I'm fascinated. I don't know why my brain went here, but I kind of went to this place of, isn't it awesome that you're in this happy place? Maybe you can use that as a springboard to actually make a couple relationship that neither one of you have right now. That could be Brenna's best friend from 4th grade, and you guys, the 4 of you, because I'm making up, she's married, have dinner, and you're like, wait a minute, this is like my favorite guy. I don't know why, but I'm going to go with it.
Yeah.
My random thing is, I think you guys should reach out to 3 friends each that you've lost touch with in the last 15 years, say hello, and then have dinner with 2 of those 6. And for some weird reason, I'm predicting that's going to be good.
So to paraphrase, spread the love.
Yeah,
right.
You got me. Use your happy place. And cliche, I'm sure Brenna might have thought of this even as she heard me saying it. You don't want to reach out to somebody and say, look, I'm engaged. You have to be thoughtful. But there's something about a positive moment that I think can be leveraged for more positive moments.
That's another interesting thing that you just mentioned where I have been struggling a little bit with who to reach out to about the engagement. Like, who should I tell? Who shouldn't I tell? I don't want
anybody's feelings to be hurt.
Exactly. I want everyone to feel like they're included.
Yeah.
So that's been an interesting
You know what
thing.
I would say on that note?
Yeah.
And this might just be a general thing. Like, intent matters. Mm-hmm. Intent matters. And even the fact that you're thinking about that should make the people that are closest to you happy.
Right. I hope so.
They will, and especially people that actually are just good people. And like intent matters.
Mm-hmm. Okay, last question. Is there anything that you want to plug?
No, I want to plug the fact that I'm very excited to be a part of this, and I wish you guys nothing but health and happiness.
Thank you for being on the podcast, Gary.
You got it.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to record.
That's awesome. I mean, just like his insight on everything. I mean, obviously, I've known about Gary for years, so to hear him like just give you some advice on your situation and to hear his insight on relationships and the dating scene, the way it relates to technology, was really cool to listen to.
Right, and like Gary's interesting because he has an opinion on everything. Obviously, his content is skewed towards business. So I thought it would be interesting to just get a different side of Gary.
Yeah, he had such great insights into every question that you asked him.
Yeah, and specifically him talking about how if you don't believe in dating apps, but you believe in math and statistics, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, there were some great lines in there.
That was probably my favorite line.
Also, it must have been so gratifying for you to hear. Gary is so big on social media and has been on the forefront of so many big trends. It must have been really gratifying for you to hear him compliment what you're doing here with the podcast and everything. To hear that from him must have been pretty cool.
Yeah, when I heard you say it, I was like, that doesn't really matter. It's just Mike. But when I heard Gary say it, that's why I was like, I guess I am doing something right.
Gary, Mike, how many Instagram followers does Mike have? How many Instagram followers does Gary have?
That's all that matters.
Yeah. So was there anything that you expected out of your conversation with Gary that you didn't get? Was there anything that surprised you? Any insights that he had that surprised you that might have not been what you thought he might have to say?
Well, I was a little cautious going into it. Gary's pretty open with everything, but I don't know. Some people are very closed off when you start talking about relationships or their family. So I was just cautious with what I was asking, trying to not get too personal, but he was a good sport about it.
Yeah, it's so cool that he gave you the time. And again, we would like to thank Gary Vaynerchuk for giving us the time.
Thank you, Gary. I think that's really it for this episode.
For this episode, but boy, we got a big one coming next week, Dustin.
Yep, next week, the final episode of Project Propose.
The last one, the big shebang.
Brenna is going to be on the podcast.
She's not we're finally letting her into the bathroom.
We're unlocking the door of the bathroom. She's finally allowed in.
Brenna, come in.
She doesn't know that she'll be on the podcast yet, obviously.
She doesn't know there's a podcast yet.
Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube. Again, the video of the proposal will be released next week, along with the final episode.
Yeah, and you're not going to want to miss either one. They're going to be a lot of fun. You're finally going to get to see what all of this has been leading to. So yeah, October 27th, hop on that YouTube channel, click that link, check it out.
And the link is in the description of the podcast to subscribe.
All right, so Dustin, you got a proposal to get ready for, so we should make this quick and get out of here.
Yes, we should.
All right, so for the Project Proposed podcast, I have been Mike.
I've been Dustin.
And we'll see you in Lake George.